Good morning. Welcome to Ag Talk in the Raw, where I talk raw about agriculture and other things that are on my mind. So what could possibly be on my mind today? Lots of things, really. We're pretty much wound down. I'm struggling to find things to do on the farm, really. Not really. But I still want to be out in the field and baling and doing stuff like that. And I know this is the time of year that you just kind of start working on equipment and things like that. And I have done some of that, done some work on the 7810. I do have to get up to New York and get that corn fodder shredded and get ready to bale that. It's going to be a little bit of a pain in my ass. But for the most part, it's just going to be a bunch of maintenance stuff coming from now on. We are in the process of building something today. We're going to be building a new set of hay spears for the front of the 6210R. The ones that I got from Hay Saver, just they're okay. They'll do for someone who's got a 100 cow herd or something like that, a couple hundred cow herd. But for what I'm doing, handling tens of thousands of bales a year, and that's just the fact, tens of thousands of bales. We're moving them around and constantly moving them. I mean, I moved several thousand bales down in North Carolina, probably 2,000 to 3,000 bales down in North Carolina. Three plus, because we had to move them with the loader, stack them a bit here and there, prop up, and the last year was a bit of a pain in the ass to get the bales dry. We were constantly fighting with wet weather. But anyway, so that's what's coming on OLF. I did meet up with the Farming Life out at Messick's a couple days ago, and we went over the new Holand HD baler, the 340 heavy high density baler, and he sent me a video yesterday in which I watched, and it's cool. I will tell you this: I think that New Holand has started their transformer kind of balers now, with the hydraulic load sensing, hydraulic suspension on that baler. You can raise that baler right up to the sky. So if you have a knot that a mistie underneath the baler and the needles, which doesn't happen too often, or if you run out of twine, which does happen when you're not paying attention, you just throw a switch. The whole baler will lift up like 2 feet, and you can get right in between those tires underneath the baler and work on it. I kind of like that feature, but again, it adds to the cost of the baler, and for a little bit of discomfort underneath the baler once in a great while, does it weigh in correct? Does it pan out? Does it make that extra money worth it? I don't know. I really don't know. I always felt that New Holand had a great idea with the toolbox in the back. Well, it's not really a toolbox. It's called a comfort kit, where you can have hand washers, got a little bottle for water. And I was thinking of actually buying that system and putting it on the Krone balers, because not that it happens very often, but you will have problems, and you can store your books back there. You can store, your parts books, your operator manual. If you've got problems, you can always refer to that. And if they're back there, it's clean. It's a sealed box, and they're really pretty cool. I like them. I liked it when I had it on the 340 crop cutter. I believe I had it on the BB 340 as well. It was really a great system. I enjoyed it a lot. Like, wow, could I ever do without this? Well, yes, you can, because it's not on the other baler, and I don't know that I would probably wouldn't order it from New Holand, but I can purchase things like that from like Tractor Supply. They have these aluminum toolboxes, and I would put them on, and then you can put your hand cleaner in there, and if you have the water bottle there, which Igloo sells a mount, you can buy an Igloo mount and put an Igloo cooler on there, and that would serve as your water. I wouldn't use it for drinking water because you wouldn't be cleaning, filling it regularly, but And why would you want drinking water at the back of the baler anyway? But for the most part, hand water, to wash your hands, cleaner, paper towels, your books, your rubber gloves if you need them, leather gloves if you need them. Excuse me. It really was a good thing. So I'm kind of pointing out some of the good points of the New Holland baler. Still, to me, they really need to do a lot of work in that pickup area. And if they would consult me, that would be great. I think that I've got some good ideas. And yes, every time you add, well, let's put it this way. And I'm going to talk about this on One Lonely Farmer today, probably. Just going to make this video here and then move over and make another video over there where I watch this video and kind of not pick it apart, but put my 2 cents in. But as far as that baler's concerned, they keep adding stuff they keep adding stuff, right? It's like, okay, this is what we're going to do, and we add this hydraulic system for the suspension. Great. And it does have these awesome features, like you can raise the baler up so you can get underneath. But that doesn't take away from the failure parts, like the holdback fingers in the precharge chamber. If they did not put a shaft in that was 1.5 inches or 2 inches thick, then they haven't done anything for the longevity or the durability of the baler. The pickup on that crop cutter model, I think I said this before, but the pickup on the crop cutter model versus the pickup on the standard model, it's the same. It's the same reel, and it's the same cams and followers. It's the same shaft, but the difference is the way they route that chain. It's got like this 15-mile long chain in there. It is forever long, and honestly, it's 15 feet long. It's 12 to 15 feet long. I can't really remember. I guess I could go in and research the length of the chain within the parts book, but I'm not that interested in it because when I open the door and I see the exact same thing that gave me so much trouble when I owned those balers, it was just a turnoff. It's like, well, all the improvements that they made to this baler, they still have the same basic problems, like the things that shut me down for 2 days because I stripped the bearing out of that idler sprocket, or I bent the side of the baler where they had to come in and replace the whole pickup assembly. That pickup header. The pickup header itself, without the reel and all the giblets that go on there, it takes us a solid day of 2 people that have done this before to change it. It is not easy. It took me 2 days with inexperience. I had my kids working on it, and myself, and Carl was there working on it. The videos are on YouTube. I replaced that thing because the spine broke. When they welded the backbone of this thing, they put the seam facing back, and it split the seam, and then the whole header was flexing up and down. I could not figure it out, but it had split the seam on the steel. I was like, holy cow. It ended up costing me $3,000 just to get rid of the baler. That's how bad it was. So I'm not a fan of that pickup. I'm not a fan of the holdbacks. The knotters were okay in the 340 and the 340 rotor crop cutter model. Hold on a second. But I will say there's a lot of room for improvement, and I'm done with that subject on this channel anyway. I'll touch on that on One Lonely Farmer. But if you've made it this far, you'll know what's coming. So anyways, I guess we'll move into the crop production here, where we're at. I'm done with corn. Corn's all in the bin. I do have a problem with the bin. Yeah, not a big problem, but it's a problem. I burned up one of the fan motors for the aeration in the bin, which is fine because I got that corn cooled down. It goes into the bin hot, and then the fans blow all the moisture and everything off of the corn, out of the corn, and it cools it down, and then there you go. Bob's your uncle. The corn is cool, and it dries down to the 14.5 to 15.5% moisture range, and that's where I want it. I put some of it in a little drier than that just because it was uncontrollable. I picked that corn a little wet because I plowed the ground, and I wasn't really sure how how the weather was going to go, and I didn't really want to be fighting mud and trying to make corn fodder, and you know the drill. So anyway, no big deal. It's done. So the corn's in there. What I did do, because there's no baffles or louvers in there, so I thought they should have put a louver system in. Like when one fan is running, the shutters or louvers will shut so that the air won't come back through the other fan. You technically have to have both fans running at the same time in order to get the airflow that you're looking for, right? Yeah, well, that's what it is. So one fan went bad, and all I did, me and Timothy did it, was we pulled the screen off the front, which is just a guard shield, and we put a piece of not plywood, but cardboard in front of it, and then bolted it fast. It's thick. It's really thick cardboard, and that stopped the air from blowing back out of that fan, and it goes up through the grain, and life is good. So I have that problem. There was some silicone that they put in, and I have to change. I got to squirt some silicone in an area. The bin settled a little bit and actually buckled the plate where the auger, and I'll show you at some point, but where the auger is, it buckled it and broke the seal, and air is blowing out of there. So I have to reseal that. It's no big deal. Just go down to the hardware store, get some clear silicone or whatever, bathtub and tile caulk or whatever you want. Shoot that in there, and it should be good. It'll be fixed. So I got to do that. But other than that, it's good. Somebody wanted to know how many bushels to the acre. I mean, I was pretty pleased. Well over 220 bushel average on everything. The home farm was like 220, 221 dry bushels. I was quite thrilled with that. And over at the other farm, it was higher in one, but there were two fields that had some issues to it, which drug it down to that 220, 230. Right, and it's all averaged over 220 bushels to the acre, just put it that way. I did have a high of 308 bushels to the acre on a 14-acre field, and that field, it just kept coming off and off and off. But it was 24% moisture, so we're in that 290 dry bushels to the acre, you know. So I was pleased. I was quite pleased. As for pricing, I've sold corn. None under $4. $4.05 was the least I got, and the most that I got was $4.49. $4.49. I'm going to make a phone call a little later today, like right around noontime. That's when, I'm going to see what the trend is. It is Wednesday, and traditionally Wednesday it hits the high of the week, and then tomorrow it kind of just stays level. It might go up a couple of cents, but then Friday it crashes because everybody, is selling off their commodities. The stock market, CBOT, Chicago Board of Trade, they play with those numbers to the point where everybody that has $1 million in their portfolio can make $100,000 in a week by playing with commodities, and or $10 million in their portfolio, and that happens all the time, and they know. I mean, they've got computers that are watching these markets and buying and selling on half a cent. Half a cent they'll buy. You buy 1 million bushels at $4, and then it goes up a half a cent. You just made $10,000, and then it goes back down, and then comes back up another half a cent, and you do it again, and it's all bought and sold in a nanosecond on the computer. Years ago, day trading was a big thing, and guys have lost huge fortunes on day trading. I don't even know if it's a thing anymore. I should probably look it up. I'm not a day trader. I thought about it because I knew there were people that were doing it and actually making some money at it. And, I wake up every morning, and the biggest gamblers around are farmers. I mean, we wake up in the morning. We don't know what the hell's going to happen. Are we going to get a storm? Are we going to get an early frost or late frost? Frozen ground after you put your corn or soybeans in the ground like we had this year. It froze this year after that corn was planted. It was crazy. So we take that gamble. We don't know if the engine in the tractor is going to blow up. We don't know if we're going to run over a piece of pipe and punch a hole through a $3,000 tire or so. So every day, agriculturalists, farmers, we gamble quite quite extensively. We don't even know if we're going to get paid for the most part. I mean, I've got money out now that is 5-6 weeks out, and it's starting to it takes its toll. to get to that 6 week point, and then what they'll do is, I don't even want to get into that, but I'm sure there's a lot of people in my boat as well. Even selling corn. I used to sell corn, and you'd sell corn, right? All right, so Tuesday you sold corn. By Thursday or Friday, you had a check. I've taken corn on a Monday and gotten paid on a Friday from Purdue. The people that I sell corn to now, they're using independent truck drivers, and they only drop off their tickets once a week, and it's usually on a Friday. And so if you hauled in Monday, Tuesday they cut the checks, but Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, then they'll turn in like on a Monday for the remainder of the week, and then maybe you don't get it for 2 weeks. And it's like, I sold this corn and I got these bills to pay, and it's really kind of annoying me, but that's neither here nor there. It worked out in the end. I've gotten paid for everything that I sold. I do need to sell 5 more loads this week, just for the simple reason I got bills to pay. I've got bills that need to be paid, and I'm still on that cash. I did not forward contract anything, so cash price, it was $4.59 maybe a week ago, and then it went down, and now they dropped the price, but they raised the basis. So right now, from what I was told, I was told this yesterday, like $4.79 a bushel. $4.79. We're flirting with $5. It hits $5, every bit of it's gone. Every bit of it's gone. I'm just going to sell it. It hits $5, all of it. See ya. Clean out my bin for that price. It's done. So I'm going to be watching that price pretty intently. I was going to hold off, but if I get close to $5, I've made good money at it. I've done a good job, so I'm pretty happy there. I don't know what everybody in the West is doing. Pennsylvania price, New Jersey, Purdue is like 30, 40, 50 cents behind what Pennsylvania's paying. But when you're down there in that South Jersey area and you got no other place to take it, Purdue just gives it to you right up the ass. And that's what happens there. So, soybeans, I've been asked if I'm going to grow soybeans again. No. The only way that I'll grow soybeans again is if the coyotes and the bears kill off the deer. And that's just about it. That's the only thing that would bring me back into soybeans. My neighbor right across the fence row, he did double crop soybeans after wheat. They're this tall. They're this freaking tall. And it's not because they were kind of late, but it's not that there wasn't weather. It's because there was a herd of 4 million deer out there chewing them off. They couldn't eat my corn, so they had to eat something, so they went over and they ate those soybeans. He planted stuff as late as July 22nd, and I thought he needed his head examined when he did it. Again, they're this tall. They got frosted. Who knows what they're going to be? I'm sure the beans are going to be the size of a birdshot. But it's none of my business. It's just what I see from the road. The other field I walked right out in it, and 8-inch tall soybeans, and it's pretty much right across the entire 50, 60 acres of beans that he had in that field. It was just. And I have a friend who hunts over there, and he says, "Oh, the other side is worse." He says nothing but grass and weeds came up into it. So, you can try to farm the world. If you're not doing a good job on all of it, then you might as well just do half of it and do a good job on half of it, and that's the way it works. And so that's the consensus with that. Wheat, no, I'll go to North Carolina and bale wheat straw and get paid for it. I'm not going to grow wheat. We have goose problems. I was going to throw rye on this ground, but I've decided against it because the geese will come along and just pick it right out of the ground. It will be pointless for me to even put that down as a cover crop. I did leave enough corn stalks there where it mattered to keep it from eroding. It will be able to stop the erosion. Plus, the corn stalks hold the ground pretty good anyway. So, and the population was high enough. And I left about this much of corn stalks. It was about 6-8 inches there. So, it's not like it's going to make much of a difference. And if we get snow cover, it won't do anything then anyway. which I'm hoping for snow cover because then you don't get that wind erosion. Yeah, so then you've got that to deal with. But this year, I don't know what everybody's thoughts are on this. Not that it even makes much of a difference what I do here in New Jersey, but making some plans for this ground to actually make it produce more. Now, I know in the past I've talked about growing less, and everybody grows less and we all make more, right? I mean, that's pretty much the consensus. I think everybody could agree to this. If we all shot for 150 bushel yields and we all produced 150 bushel corn, the price of corn would go up to 8, 9, 10, 12 bucks. But because we're all greedy bastards and we want to grow as much as we possibly can because corn price is low, so we put more, we get more out of that field per acre, and then that raises the bushels to the acre, which obviously will raise the amount of money that you get. Now, I did a lot of work to that ground this year, and you guys witnessed it, and you saw the amount of fertilizer and the different composts and stuff. And my tillage practices are still antiquated. I don't use a vertical tillage machine. I would like to. I really would like to buy one or borrow one or rent one or something to when I put the compost down, because you can take that vertical tillage machine and you fly with those things. And my 8530 would pull a 30-footer pretty fast, 25, 30-footer pretty quickly, or quickly enough that it would do what I want it to do, which is basically minimal disturbance of the ground, allow it to dry out faster, and give it a little better drainage, plus putting the nutrients back down in the ground where they belong. And that's what I want. So, but that doesn't do anything for the deep tillage part of this. And I know that there's mixed emotions with ripping ground. It's like, oh my God, you're going to rip it and it's just going to be mud. Well, we live in an area where it can turn to mud very easily. But my grandfather had a ripper, and he would go and he would rip. It was a single spike ripper. Now, I'm telling you, it had what they call that thing, a slug or a worm. It was a worm. And all it was this torpedo-looking piece of cast iron on a chain. And it was bolted to this thing. And it was a single tooth. And it would go into the ground. And then this chain, that far back, you had the worm. And it would make a hole like that. Okay? So, in the ground, a mole. They called it a mole. It was a mole. And anyways, it would make a hole deep. And it took power to do it, but we're talking in the 60s and 70s. He didn't do this into the 80s. It just took so much time, and by the time the 80s rolled around, farmers were having to do more faster and didn't have the time to take to make, to do those sorts of things, and he gave it up. Now the ripper still sits by the barn. At least it did. It might be gone now. I have to go look. The ripper's still there, but it's just a single tooth thing, and he would go in the wet spots and run this ripper with a mole in it, and then that hole that he would produce in the ground was basically poor man's tile, because it wouldn't collapse. It would just always be this void where water could run and flow away from the wet spot, and it worked. At least that's what I was told. Anyway, I want to rip that ground over there. I want to go deep, like 18 inches deep or so, maybe a little deeper, but I'm thinking 18 inches. I should be able to get below that hard pan or that packed soil that's deep. Now, my chisel plow, I went 8 inches deep this year. I did not bring up any nasty rocks or anything that I saw. I mean, there's one field over there that's a bit rocky, but not terrible. But I want to rip it, and I want to use a DMI because they have these wings that come back, or paddles, which actually when they go in, they heave the whole thing, shattering the hard packed soil, or that hard pan. I want to break that up a little bit to allow for better percolation. If it goes down, it comes up. That's the theory. But I also would like to run tubes for dry fertilizer. Right? Think about this here. When your roots go down, they get to this area, whether it's a hard pack. If it's hard pack, they'll just grow on the top. They'll make a root ball or a mass, and then they can't penetrate deep. But if I break that up and those roots can go down, if there's nothing down there but water and no nutrition, what's it going to do? Is it going to benefit me any? So my theory is to rip it and run like John Deere fertilizer boxes. Not much. I mean, I don't want to put thousands of pounds. I just want to put, like 100 pound to the acre of like 1919 or something down there, or 1145, something like that with boron, so that those roots, when they get down in there, because we're low on boron and sulfur, I ought to add sulfur with it as well. Don't need nitrogen that deep. The nitrogen will leach down through the soil, so we're not really too concerned about that. But I want that deep nutrient down there. So when those plants are going down and they're finding it, better root health, better stalk health, better growth on my ears. And that's an experiment and something that I really want to try. I only want like a 4-shank ripper. I don't want to go to town with a 9. I mean, if I could get a 6-shank ripper, then I could easily put 3 John Deere or any. It doesn't even matter. But I could build a hopper and put up on the back of that thing and fill it. And just fill the damn thing, and go out and rip until the damn thing's empty, and then come back and fill it up again and do it again, until I get what I feel is what I need down that hole. And I do 2 things. I put some nutrients deep, because the water will go up, the water will go down. The plants will go find it, and I will not have that hard-packed that hard pan down deep. And that's my thoughts. And I would love to pull over 300 bushel to the acre corn off of that ground over there. The potential is there. The soil has a good enough CEC. It's got a higher CEC than most of the ground in the area. So it could easily support that. I do need to put lime down, so that's something that's going to happen this winter. I'm going to see if I can get about 1,000 tons of lime and put it on a few fields, 1,000 tons, 2 tons to the acre on 500 acres for corn. And there you go. I think it would greatly improve my chances of blowing over 300 bushels pretty consistently across the board, plus getting the fodder. The fodder was a little less than I expected, but still, all in all, I was pretty happy with it. And there you go. It just seems like it's going to work out okay. That I'll make enough money to put the lime down. Paid the rent on the ground. Pulled enough hay off of there to pay the rent, so I was okay with that. The corn fodder is what's going to pay what pays the fertilizer bill. Yes, the fertilizer bill for the corn and the seed was paid by the fodder, and the grain paid for the bin, the combine header, and any of the parts and pieces that I purchased for the combine and that header. This header is going to go through a revamp in the fall. Maybe I'll do it this winter, I don't know. But it's going to go through a revamp. It's getting all new deck plates, all new rollers, and gathering chains will be replaced, and I'm probably going to replace the auger in it. The auger is worn thin. Now, a lot of people don't realize a thin auger, they actually bend up backwards like this, and it's like trying to move something along. It's like it just kind of paws at it. Where if it's straight or cupped, I like cupped augers, and I think I can get a cupped auger from M&M Weavers. That's where I'll have the auger. I'll pull the auger out and I'll put a new flighting onto it in a matter of a couple of days, and life will be good. It'll cost a couple $1,000, and there you go, done, fixed. Right? That's right. So that's what I'm going to do there. But anyways, 30 minutes of me yammering on is just about enough. I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you all are doing well with your equipment and your plans for the future. I know my plans for the future include lots of things, and you'll watch them on the other channel. But thanks for watching.